and their willingness to come forward and write those letters so we can send it to Met. So,
Thank you for doing that. Yeah, we'll take all the support we can get.
so absolutely, this is a really, this is a big deal. This is a big deal because I know Met has not done this before and probably will never do it again.
Why not?
Because this is, generally, this has been something that, as Ryan pointed out in his staff report, this is something that they've annexed everything in at one time. It makes for an administrative nightmare. The fees on this alone and the processing of the paperwork and the applications alone to do all of this is very labor intensive, and it's really difficult to do. They've had over 1,100 of the parcels that were not annexed in as part of this. So when you're having to do each one of those applications, I mean, that's creating a whole department in and of itself to try to do all that paperwork. So it's not their typical process, and it's not what they've ever done in the past. So, and like I said, I don't think they'll ever do it again, as we've heard
Probably
nothing
not.
but grumblings and pushback on what this has created administratively.
Yeah, you got to think how great the negotiations were in 1999 by Western and Eastern to get Met to go along with it.
Right, and just to give you a little more context, normally it's one application for an entire city or development area, that's one processing. So this theoretically is 1,100 agreements that Met would have to process. That's why they don't like it. But the negotiation was interesting because why did they give this area the ability to develop more slowly, parcel by parcel? I'm not sure that we fully understand. I don't think that really the people are still left at Met that originally negotiated this. So it was like a special consideration for the area.
And so do we perceive any issues after we approve, after Eastern approves, after the nice letters that President Dunstad had drafted? Are we perceiving any issues?
No, we're good.
Oh,
So this is
at Met's level?
Everybody but Met wants to do it this way because, each developer, as they develop a parcel, would pay their Met annexation fee instead of an umbrella payment of $13 million would be needed right now.
Yeah.
So they're offsetting the 13 million, and it's going to be paid parcel by parcel, which some people would argue is a more fair way to do it. But so I think it's a big benefit to Murrieta and their development. Metropolitan's the one that is.
That's what I'm asking.
It's getting harder.
Will we get
Metropolitan, no.
Okay.
They won't have an issue with it. Now, we have to renegotiate this deal when do we have to start the negotiations again?
5 years before the end of it
And the end of it
is
is,
2034, assuming this amendment goes through.
so 2029, this is just what we had to do last time.
Sure.
So we'll have to start talking with them again, and we'll evaluate the status of how many parcels are left. Right, since we negotiated this in the first agreement, I think half of the parcels basically have joined Metropolitan. So it was 1,100, now it's 500 and something parcels. So they've been joining, but there's still 500 left to go.
Okay.
Yeah, the challenge will be in 2029. We'll have to kind of renegotiate and figure out what the long-term solution will be.
Since you opened the door for, a lot of extra water nerd knowledge, what we'll also try and negotiate with the developers in Murrieta is to join together as much as possible, because the fee to process is.
Like finance together?
Yeah, because you have to pay one fee for an annexation.
Right.
If they do it in 500 increments, they all pay the fee.
Right.
So we would want to get as many parcels as we can in one application to save the developers a lot of money in fees.
Right, and I brought that up last night at the city council meeting, that it would probably be in their best interest to try to collaborate with all of the developers that are shovel-ready and pushing projects forward and have already gotten their approvals to do that. Can we put the map back up for just a second, too? And I wanted to point out another concern that the city had. So in this map, if you look at the lower half of the map, a good portion of the city of Murrieta back in the day, this was all livestock area. They had a lot of cattle and a lot of sheep in the area that farmers had established, and that was just the industry at the time. So a lot of the parcels that you see that are down on that bottom border are actually some of the larger aread parcels, acreage, that homeowners individually own. And a lot of those farmlands and livestock dropped their own wells. They dug their own wells, so they aren't hooked and connect to the municipal service. However, this agreement does not affect any of that whatsoever for people to operate their own well that they've had established for God only knows how many generations. But it does give them the ability, should that ever have a problem and complicated with water quality, or the aquifer has problems, or they end up, the water's not available there anymore to pump, this still gives those individual homeowners, should they ever choose to hook into municipal service, the ability to be able to do that. So that it's not taken off of the table. That's why we want to make sure that we continue to incorporate them within this agreement, so that if that is an option somewhere down the road because of whatever, that's still afforded to them.
Or do they have to
So-
pay that big fee?
Excuse me?
Yes.
Not unless they interconnect, not unless they connect.
Tim, I think you're giving a different answer than my colleague.
No, yes, they'll have to pay the fee.
They would
If
have to pay
choose
the fee
If they
to
choose to
connect.
annex to Metropolitan,
Yeah.
each parcel must pay the fee.
Okay.
But if they don't connect, they don't pay any fee.
Correct.
That's, yeah.
Correct.
So if that's the case, are we communicating, like, hey, maybe all of you should be in one application also?
If they come and talk to, if the developers come and talk to us, we let them know that. But we've also reached out to the city staff, because that's the first stop for the developers. And so we want the city staff to be the ones advertising that, because they're the first contact.
Sure.
They don't come to the water agencies first.
Right.
Well, move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. So thank you for staff for working really hard on this negotiation, and kudos to Eastern staff as well to be a part of this. I know that that's in front of their board today, and they're in support of this as well, and they've been communicating that forward to the city. So look forward to staff assisting the city and the chamber with letters of support to send to Met whenever this comes on the agenda. Do we have an indication of when it's going to come on Met's agenda?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay. So with that, is there any public comment on this item?
I see no requests.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion to approve and a second. We'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Thank you. Director Roten?
Yes.
Director Rizvi?
Yes.
Director Gardner?
Aye.
Director Torres?
Yes.
President Dinstead?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to reports. We'll go on to General Counsel. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Madam President. Board members, at the last board meeting, request was made to bring back 3 policy changes. The legal counsel's office is working on those, and we expect to have them for the October 5th board meeting. So I just wanted to give you an update on that.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving on to General Manager and staff reports. Mr. Miller.
Yeah, thank you. I've got a few today. We've got 2 new employees who are here that were involved in projects today, so I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce them to the board. So Luis Cardenas is working on the New Clay well. Welcome aboard. And Josh Aguilar is new to our Water Resources Department, so happy to have Josh here also. So just wanted to introduce you to the board.
Welcome.
Where did we steal them?
Josh came from IEUA, so when I was there and when Ryan was working there, we worked with Josh, and we don't refer to it as stealing him. We think he came over here because he wanted to work with us some more.
They gave him a,
They do refer to it as stealing him.
Yeah. We'll see what IEUA says.
Yeah.
Yes, they were glad to see him grow and prosper, but they were sorry to lose him.
They are. It's hard to lose good people. Luis, sorry, I don't recall where, City of Banning. City of
Oh,
Banning.
okay, so, good. Okay, so
And
coming
a
to
Stanford
this
graduate,
side
right?
of the valley.
And so
All right.
we have an internal challenge. We have a Stanford grad and a Berkeley grad that have to
My.
sit right by each other and talk to each other and work well together. So they seem to be doing fine so far.
Western unifying the
We're
college.
pulling the world together. So,
Okay.
happy to have both of them on board. Let's see, I've been giving you Solve the Water Crisis Coalition updates, so it's been a very, very busy couple weeks for me. So I had a meeting with Northern California Water Association, with the Cal Chambers Water Committee, had a meeting with Black and Veatch. We're trying to draw in a consortium of large consulting firms to weigh in on the need to invest in infrastructure. I spoke at the Orange County Water Summit last Friday, spoke to the IEUA General Managers Meeting, so that's all of their member agencies. Spoke to the California Business Roundtable, spoke yesterday at the County Board of Supervisors, and then also yesterday at the BizFed board meeting, and they did adopt a support position for Solve the Water Crisis. So it's been very, very busy couple of weeks. Spencer, do we have a PowerPoint? You may have heard about a fire that we had, the Opportunity Fire, named after the street. Go ahead. So this, on the 12th, we heard and saw the smoke plume. Let's go to the next slide. So you can see here what was happening. Look at all the cardboard boxes that are piled in front of this building. And this is just right over here by Van Buren, Opportunity Way, Van Buren. So where the new Starbucks and In-N-Out Burger and gas station, this is just a couple of buildings away. So large fire. Go to the next slide. It looked very bad. We heard it spread to 10 acres. It actually was just in their parking lot. So
It wasn't 10 acres, is that what?
no, it wasn't
That
10
is so
acres.
funny.
Maybe the smoke was 10 acres, I'm not sure. But it was
10 acres
confined to
into
their
the
parking
sky?
lot. And, let's see, next slide. It looked really bad. But, let's see, next slide, sorry. Our operations department was on it, so we contacted the fire department. We were out there with them to see what we could do to help. We did change around some of our water production just to make sure we could provide enough water. Tim, I don't remember the exact numbers, but oh, there we go. So we used about 15 to 16 acre feet of water, so that's a lot of water. 33 cubic feet per second, so that peak is about what we take out of the Mills plant. It's 60, so it's half of our take from the Mills plant. So we, had to switch things around so we could accommodate that, but it all went well.
And that goes with fire department's strategy of surround and drown. So
Surround and drown.
That's what they call it, surround and drown.
Well, they did a good job of that. I drove by there after they're done thinking the building was going to be gone, and the building's still there, and it's fine. The paint doesn't look so good along the wall, but the building's still there. So Ops did a great job of staying engaged in that. And every time we get an event like that, we have a little huddle up, and we try and figure out, do we need to initiate an EOC? How do we deal with it? But because it was really contained within the fence of that agency, we didn't think it rose to the level of needing an EOC response like Eastern was doing with the Hemet fire. That was a full-fledged EOC that Eastern had to open for that event. So that one's taken care of. Let's see, what else do we got here? Oh, good news from Metropolitan. You may have heard, and we showed it at the last board meeting, the emergency repair that had to happen on the upper feeder. This is where it crosses the Santa Ana River. So I showed you that Met was fabricating that giant sleeve coupling that they had to do. And so they put that in. They had to message to like 4 million customers, no outdoor water use for 2 weeks. Good news is they completed their repair. They completed it 2 days ahead of schedule. So they're done there. So that was good. And they went ahead and messaged and said, okay, turn on your outdoor irrigation, but only water 1 day a week. So, good news. We won some more communications awards. Michelle, would you like to, sorry, catching you on the spot. You have the giant trophies with you.
Communications, we're always prepared.
That's right, always ready. Tell us about what organization this was, because this was not Capio like we
No,
usually
it
are.
wasn't. We're actually trying to get out there and get a little bit more involved beyond just the state, and this was actually a national organization. So the week of September 8th, we were awarded by the City County Communications and Marketing Association for 2 different projects. The first one, we received second place, which was our Silver Circle Award for our Dirty Jobs video. So last year, we did a video that highlighted our wastewater workers and promoted careers in the wastewater industry. And that video is actually produced 100% in-house. So that was one of the first videos that we did fully 100% in-house, and it won a Silver Circle Award. So some background on those awards. So it's a nationwide association. There were 642 total entries across 26 different states who won. So, and we were competing against cities, counties, and we were one of the only special districts that actually won an award at this event. The second one was the Award of Excellence for our 2021 rate adjustment campaign. And this one, some judges' comments, so increasing rates during an economically challenging time while also managing misinformation was an incredible challenge. We had solid research and measurable objectives and exceptionally good results. So I've actually had a few people from other states and even other water agencies reach out to see what we did during that campaign because they want to model theirs after ours. So that's really exciting. So big shout outs to our finance department. They were a huge partner on that project. Huge shout out to our operations department. They were a huge partner on the wastewater side. And I gotta tell you, you think our ops guys aren't that fun, but you go out there and you get them on video and it is a good time. They make wastewater really interesting. So we will have these available up in the executive management suite if you want to look at them. But thank you to the board for all of your support for everything we do in communications. We really couldn't do what we do without your constant support. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Michelle. Final one from me.
Okay, Mr. Miller, we have a question.
Quick question, where can we view those videos? Are they on the website?
I should have said that. They're on our YouTube channel, so you can go to youtube.com/westernmwd. And we actually have all of our For the Love of Water videos up there, our Dirty Jobs video, and all of our virtual tours.
That's awesome. Good, congratulations. And I mean, I hope this goes to show that we don't need to contract everything out and use consultants. Let's keep things in-house as often as possible.
Yes, we do as much as we can.
Awesome.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Great job. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay.
The last one is we like to kind of trumpet this stuff. We got a really nice response. Your team was great from a customer. On September 11th, there were very heavy rains, as you may recall, the Gavilan Hills area. There was a flooding incident that damaged a roadway and a fire hydrant, and our guys got out there immediately and fixed it. Not only did they fix it, they also helped dig out a vehicle that was swamped and mudded in. So that was very much appreciated, and much appreciation to our ops team for going the extra mile and doing what Western likes to do. So thank you very much. And I believe that concludes my comments.
Okay, well, kudos to ops for going out there and handling stuff. That's great, you know, because we're part of the community too. So it's great that guys were recognized and somebody took the time to send that in. So thank you to them.
Madam President, before we move on, I have a quick question of the general manager.
Sure.
You mentioned the big storms a couple of weeks ago. Were we able to collect any stormwater runoff in Victoria Recharge Basin, or do you know if Eastern was able to collect any significant amount of water in those storms?
Yeah, Paul looked into it for us, and we really didn't. And you know, I've watched this throughout my career. You get these summer thunderstorms, and we see the news, and there's flooding in the mountains and
7 inches.
yeah, mud flows and all that, but it just doesn't get down throughout the watershed. Tim and I were talking yesterday, actually at the site upstream where we've contemplated working with Riverside to build a rubber dam to divert water off of the river. They actually did get a flow of about 800 CFS, but it never got downstream.
Yeah.
It doesn't
So-
ever get down.
Yeah, so it just, everything's so dry, it just sucks into the ground. But had we had a rubber dam in place, we would have captured some water up there, so.
would've been good, yeah.
But of course, it is also water that kind of looks like chocolate milk, which means it's full of sediments. So
Same thing,
it doesn't recharge very well, it clogs very fast. But anyway, we still are working on projects to try and capture that water too, even though it's spotty and it's not great water quality, we still need to work on that. And so Tim's going to be talking with the Valley staff because, there's no reason that we couldn't be implementing temporary measures in the river rather than, a very expensive construction of a rubber dam. Orange County does this, they put sand levees in the river, and I know Valley was working on the permitting to do it. We're gonna chase that down with them and see if we have approval from the resource agencies to do that. Fish and Wildlife is the challenge there.
Of course.
But we should be doing that, for sure.
IEUA did have some pretty good recovery. Apparently, there was a lot of water in the foothills above Upland in
Yeah.
particular. And they have a number of recharge basins downstream from that.
Right.
And they were
At a
able
high-
to collect.
high elevation,
Yeah,
right.
they were able to collect some significant water. So I was just curious if we had had that same benefit. So, thank you.
Apparently, we swapped Director Gardner for Luis.
Well, and Director Gardner, to your point, maybe with our recent thefts, that we'll get some ideas on how we can do a better job of doing the capture. So, with new staff in the room.
Steal the staff and steal the water?
Whatever works.
Compensate fairly for the resource, right?
Whatever works. Okay. And is that the conclusion of your report, Mr. Miller?
It is, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, moving on to director's reports. We'll go ahead and move into SAPA, please.
SAPA met yesterday. There were no formal actions to take. There was a presentation on the Proposition 1 Round 2 funding, which will come to the OWOW board, One Water, One Watershed, which Director Denstedt sits on. For their recommendation, it will then come back to the SAPA board for final approval. In our area, there is some fairly significant funding proposed for the Box Springs Mutual Water Company to replace a well. That well is now out of service. It's their only source of water, and they are 100% dependent at the moment on imported water, which is pretty expensive. They are a disadvantaged community area, and so this will be a real benefit to them to get that well repaired and be able to provide local water at a significantly lower cost than imported water. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the Met update. So it was a very busy agenda this last go-around. So a lot of contracts. General manager already gave an update on the upper feeder, so we're really glad that that has resolved itself and those repairs have been able to take place. A lot of different contracts have been going out for upgrades. The Weymouth Administrative Building has been moving in a direction to do some upgrades significant to that facility. I'm looking forward to going on a tour of that place sooner or later. It would be really interesting, I think, to see. So once, hopefully, they get all of that construction done over there with their improvements, I can go over there and take a look. A lot of different things going on with engineering services, a lot of contracts. They had some discussions over the Bay Delta policies that will be coming up in the coming months to discuss Bay Delta policy stuff that's going on. And then there were some changes to the administrative code, some updates and some cleanups that staff were doing over there. There was also a 10-year license agreement that was provided to Valleywide, which is a partner agency out with with Eastern, and to be able to continue to operate some trail systems out there. So with Metropolitan-owned lands, and so Valleywide will be operating and maintaining that. And it's understanding it's a big recreation facility out there for those trails, and very important part to those folks out there. And then one of the other things is there was a contract that was done with Myers-Nava for, they're doing some significant changes now that they've brought on an EEO office and a person that's heading that up. They're changing some of the administrative policies and some things, so they're in the process of engaging with that company to assist in some of those changes, which will address some of the concerns from the employee associations and some of the state audit that has taken place. So more to unfold as we go through that process. Other than that, that is about the update from Metropolitan. Okay. Moving on to our Chino Basin.
They meet tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Chino de Salter.
Next week, or 2 weeks.
Okay. RCRA.
We meet Thursday.
My goodness. Okay. WRCOG. So WRCOG this last go-around, one of the things that they've been doing, they've been working a lot on TUMF. We don't participate in TUMF, so that is the Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fees, and Western does not participate, nor are we a voting member on any of those matters. But one of the things that WRCOG did do was they adopted a resolution in support of Solve the Water Crisis Coalition. So we are really excited about that. When Mr. Miller came and did that presentation along with his counterpart from Eastern, Joe Moab, they ended up getting a lot of engagement and a lot of questions from those folks in regard to that. And I've had some follow-up questions as well that I've gone around to have those discussions to help the individual cities then see if they're going to jump on board as an independent action away from WRCOG. So give you a little bit more oomph on the participation level there. So that was all good things to happen. And then, of course,
Real quick.
sure.
So they adopted a resolution of support, which is great. Are they going to actually join the coalition, or was that discussed?
We want them to support. They're doing what we want them to do. The agencies that join, we really want water agencies to join, or cities that have a water department.
Oh, okay.
But then we have a separate category, which are supporters. So building that list of supporters is really important, and so we want WRCOG, and then we want all the cities we want to be able to use all the cities' names in that supporter list too, with associations and anyone else on that supporter list.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. And then, of course, the ongoing litigation that's involved with PACE and some other things that are still in closed session that are not, I'm not able to talk about. So that it's just ongoing, and it's hopefully will come to conclusion at some point. Okay, moving on to Sarah.
It was canceled this month, so we'll meet next month.
Okay, thank you. Aqua. So we have the annual conference coming up, the fall conference coming up. So are we looking to have to cancel any meetings for that? I think our first meeting in December.
I haven't looked at the December calendar yet.
Yeah, no, we will not need to cancel the board meeting. It actually falls the week after Aqua.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, more to come on that. So I would tell my colleagues to take a look at everything that they've got going on. And there are some programs that are available, and those notices are coming out that are outside of our region. However, they may be of topics of interest for you. So you can peruse that at your leisure and your availability. Okay, moving on to director's comments. Director Rizvi, any comments today?
No, I just wanted to appreciate the staff during the heat wave. I saw how our staff was on social media promoting to save water and generate power. So I really appreciate when I saw every time I logged on, I was able to see what Western was doing. So I'm really appreciative of the work you guys did. Good job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Director Roten.
Yes, I actually remembered to write down some notes this time for, for my comments. Just very briefly, on the 8th, I attended Good Morning Riverside Greater Chambers of Commerce event. The chancellor from UCR was the main speaker, and then they always have a myriad of other speakers, and it's always just a lot of great information happening, a lot of good energy. And then the Jurupa Valley Chamber is the same day, and there was an economic development update from the city. And I don't know if I've ever heard anyone talk so fast to try to get everything in that's happening in Jurupa Valley. It's pretty exciting. So that was very informative. And then on the 12th, I had the pleasure of visiting a heli hydrant. I mentioned back in May, in fact, I think it's in the minutes that we just approved today, that I had attended a presentation at the Aqua May conference. It was a workshop on the folks that had applied for innovation awards. And one of the presentations was this heli hydrant, which is helicopter. It's it's sort of where Fallbrook and Bonsall and Rainbow all come together. So I was coming back from San Diego, and I've been working with this gentleman from Rainbow Municipal Water. He happened to be the one that headed up the project for them. So on just the last minute on Sunday, I was like, I'm going to be coming back through there on Monday. Is there somewhere I can go and just see it? And he was so gracious. He actually met me out there Monday morning, opened up the gates and let me in to see it and took pictures and that kind of thing. So more to come on that. I think it's an amazing concept. And I believe it has its place in Riverside County. It's just a matter of finding the path to get there. So working on that. But it was exciting to meet him in person. He has been so forthcoming with information and excitement about what they're doing. And it has sparked other ones of these heli hydrants. There are now 2 in Yorba Linda. They modeled theirs after the first one in Yorba Linda. And then San Diego County, apparently, according to him, has like 20 on the books for hopeful sites. And then Rainbow is trying to do 2 more. So it's this quick fill where the helicopters can come up and they can quick fill the helicopter, they're gone, and then the tank fills itself really quickly. So it's, especially where they are in the rural, my gosh, where we were up on this hilltop and looking out over all of the hills and avocado groves and all that kind of stuff. So very cool concept in my mind. So I did attend the Orange County Water Summit and got to watch Craig perform his magic as the moderator of his panel. Great information. Fritz Coleman was supposed to be the moderator, but I guess at the last minute he wasn't able to. So Jeff, and I apologize, I don't know how to say his last name. With a T?
Yeah, Keitlinger.
Jeff Keitlinger.
Okay, Keitlinger. He stepped in at the last minute, and most of you, I'm sure, know he used to work for Metropolitan. He used to be the person at Metropolitan.
Yeah, general manager.
And he did a really good job. You know, when you get that request at the last minute, that's not easy. So a lot of great information, good, fun location. It was at the Disney Grand Californian. And also one of the other panel members who I was recently introduced to on a Zoom event that I had attended was Assemblymember Devin Mathis. And he is, if I have this correctly, he's kind of from central but more northern California area, and he is very interested in, and from what I can tell, well-versed in the water issues. So it's nice to know that we do have someone in the assembly that is paying attention to this and actually trying to do good things about it. So I enjoyed, I had never heard of him, and then all of a sudden, within a week, I am seeing him speak twice. You know, it was interesting, so. And was able to view the water board, the water presentation to the Board of Supervisors yesterday, and it was impressive to see. I love how you guys divided it up, guys and gals, divided it up between different people to speak, because just that in itself was impactful, I think, for the board. It wasn't just one person. You know, one person's great, but when you have 4 or 5 like you all did from different agencies, and you see that collaboration between the agencies, it's really impactful. And, you know, people watch those. So even if they're not in the room, they're still seeing that presentation. So, Craig, I don't know how you're getting into all these places, but thank you, because it's making a difference, and it's elevating the conversation about water and the importance of more infrastructure and conveyance.
Well, I'm very fortunate that we have a great staff here. So they're allowing me to spend time away doing all these presentations, and the business here at Western is not suffering at all. Appreciate the board's support to continue to do it, but they're very time intensive, and the Board of Supervisors, you know, from we had a really nice opportunity to sit with Jeff Van Wagenen, the CEO of the county, before the meeting, so we could talk about water issues. He is very engaged in water issues and wants to solve. Jason Yulee was there from the county flood and water conservation district. Don't forget the last part of the name. So I had a nice conversation with him. And then we also did an interview with Rivco TV afterwards. But that all took over 4 hours. So it's a big time commitment, so I do appreciate both the board's patience with that, and Tim and the staff are doing a great job of keeping everything flying right along here, so.
Awesome.
it's
Well,
working
you
great.
covered a lot of ground in those 4 hours, though. That got word out to a lot of people, all at, you know, over a 4-hour period. So I think, I think it's worthwhile, but I can imagine what it does with your schedule.
Yeah, sorry, since you brought that up again, all the board members, I think, did you all get cards? Do we give them cards?
Yeah.
So you
Are
have-
these
yeah.
new?
So look at the back of the card. Yeah, so we've pivoted a little bit, and we want you, this is, you know, kind of your call to action now. We want to get supporters. So if you can get entities, associations, cities, whoever, to sign as supporters, we want to use their name on our list as supporters. So now's the time to go out and sell.
More of these?
Yeah, we can, I just got a small pack, so I had to divide them up so you'd all get a couple, but we can.
I wrote on one of them.
That's all right. We can get you more, but we have to print more. So we actually gave those out to the entire coalition. So KP printed all those out, and they divided them up amongst the 26 agencies. So we just need more. Michelle and Sarah will take care of getting them. We have the files, so we can print them ourselves.
So
But-
it says water agency, though, name of water agency. So would this
They can
work for
cross that out,
WRCOG?
just supporter.
Okay.
Just supporter.
Okay. Where you,
Yeah, I'm done.
okay. And I'm going to make one comment to what you said, Mr. Miller. I'm not going to call it occupying your time or taking up your time. I'm going to call that your investment in solving our problem, and that's the drought. So I think there's a significant difference when you invest into a process, you get return on your investment. So so I'm just going to put that pivot out there.
We hope.
Okay? Okay. Thank you. Director Gardner.
Thank you. Couple of things. I also attended Good Morning Riverside, and the one thing that happened that was not mentioned is that it was Cindy Roth's last meeting, and she went out with a flare, as you would expect. On the heli hydrants, City of Riverside recently acquired a 5-acre privately owned parcel, actually in the river bottom. It's below the bluff edging the river, and they didn't really know that they acquired a well with it. And so I've been working with City of Riverside Fire Department on whether they can use that well and that property for that very same purpose. And they're very interested in that. So the well doesn't currently have a pump installed, but power is nearby and pumps are available. So that may happen there. One thing I would like to ask of our staff, likely, I think, the general counsel, is Assembly Bill 2449, the bill that will regulate hybrid meetings in the future, did pass the legislature, and the governor has now signed it. It is going to change the way that we do meetings. We're going to need, I think, to amend our codes to reflect those requirements. And I think, Jeff, you had already planned to bring that in October, but if we can, I think it's important. I believe the bill takes effect January 1st, and we need to be ready to do that. It's more prescriptive than what we're operating under now. If you're going to participate remotely, you can only, any individual board member can only do it so many times per year, only under certain circumstances. So we'll need to adjust to all of that. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Torres.
Yes, thank you, President Dunstead. So I want to also give kudos to staff and Craig for the meeting yesterday. I heard great things about it from a lot of people. So just continue your investment in this program. I do want to, this is more on the professional end, but we had if you've been following the Prado Dam mural lawsuits and back and forth, almost 8-year process, it is now being restored. The original Freedom mural will be restored, so there was a big event at the Prado Dam mural, which is why you didn't see me last week. I was over there. Or the last board meeting, it was too hard to get back and forth, but it was a great event. I didn't know this. I'm sure maybe President Dunstead or Mike Gardner know, but the original mural was painted by 30 students from Corona High School. I learned this in the process of planning this event, but Corona High School. So a lot of those original painters were there to celebrate, which I mean was very beautiful. The plan is for the spillway to be extended, and there will be, I'm sure another class of Corona High School that can put something else up there, but that's about four years away. So it was just a great event, and seeing something so monumental be commemorated. I expect a new mural next spring. So it was, it's kind of why I love what I do here. I'm able to tie all the different aspects of my life together. It's not just my one thing that I do. And then I won't go into much detail, but Craig and I had we received an email from a constituent that was worried about the water quality in their area, in their home. And while I know that, there's got to be there's a lot in between all of that, I wondered if we've ever considered, and you don't have to answer me right now, but if we've ever considered, or if there are programs where people can test at home, quality assurance, quality control type, test if they request it, or, aside from me going and testing their water. It was something that, they brought up, like, hey, I've tested it with, the rinky dink. Oh my gosh, Kevin, I just noticed you there. Oh, how crazy. Welcome. And I'm sure you were here last, but welcome to the dais. Sorry about that. You caught my attention that way. I'm sure we do quality control efforts, but just if that was ever something that we've discussed, or program we have for people to kind of do their own.
Well, there's there's a short answer, but we should probably come back and talk about that
Let's
again.
do that, yes. We just, I get these calls, and although I am an expert and understand this, I do feel for people that don't tend to understand it at the same level.
Absolutely, and I think it's important to point out that we meet all the state and federal regulations, so this was a comment about a specific constituent in our water maybe causing a health problem for a customer, and there are people that have individual health challenges where they have to be careful with certain
What they drink.
things they eat and things that they drink, and we understand that. But our system, rock solid. Everyone can go on and look at our consumer confidence report that just got sent out. It's on our website. We've got our whole history of reports that people can log into. But we meet all the health and safety criteria. But there are people that have extenuating concerns and circumstances, and sometimes they want to take their own additional measurements or things like that. And we should come back and talk more about that.
Yeah, let's chat about it.
Because as you might expect, the state has rules about who gets to do that and how.
Right.
So we'll put something together and bring it back.
Okay, thank you.
Was that the end of your comments?
Happy Wednesday, President Dunstead.
Thank you. Okay, so for Marietta, we already talked about the agreement moving forward, so that was well received. Also had a conversation and was invited to the Wildemar City Council meeting for the Solve the Water Crisis. So we talked about that, and the city of Wildemar is very supportive as well. So you may be getting something back from that city in signing on for the coalition as an independent city that you're looking forward to. So good for that. I was sad not to go to the chamber event to see Cindy Roth's last, but it conflicts with Marietta's chamber breakfast, so I attend that breakfast. They're on the same morning, so, but best wishes to her. So, and then the conversation that we had was very interesting at our side-by-side meeting with Eastern in terms of their fire and the response that they had and the challenges that they faced with that and everything that happened. And I kind of asked the question if our agency, since we border each other in so many different areas that may be of critical planning and probably a little bit higher on the incident rate of something catastrophic happening, would it behoove us to have some type of an exercise between those agencies to talk about how we support each other, and so that staff know exactly who, what, where, when, and how, and what that would look like in the future, because I know we participate in the county-wide initiative when that takes place, when we're doing EOC training and a variety of different things, but it might be nice to just talk about our local, how are we supporting each other, especially with March Air Base being right here, and we've already had one incident happen with a downed plane, and God forbid, knock on wood, we never want that ever to happen again, but it's in between our two agencies. So if something like that were to happen, what would our response be to support March and take care of each other in doing those? So just a question that was asked at that meeting. So look forward to your collaboration with Eastern on what that may look like in the future and an exercise that we may do. So
We have a plan.
Yes.
We'll come back and talk about it, so the board knows that we have a plan.
Absolutely. And, and I think it's important for people to understand what lengths staff goes to partner, what our collaboration is, what our regional participation is, so if something really does go awry, like a couple of years ago down in Marietta, when Rancho had the fire, right up to their storage facilities and to their tanks, and what we did in order to back them up and provide assistance in that area. So I think it's just important for everybody to know, especially in these times. It's been really dry this year, and we've been very fortunate just to have the one incident that's been a major. because we're not exactly sure when those are going to happen and to be prepared for them. So, so thank you, Mr. Miller, for doing that and coming back with a plan so that
And
we're
thanks,
informed.
Paul's the one that's going to come up with the plan. He's our EOC head. So I'm glad he's here to hear the conversation.
No, absolutely, and look forward to that, Paul. So I think it's really important for us to be able to do that, especially, you know, just down the street here, we looked at that incident that happened, you know, with all the boxes. I think it was all boxes and debris and stuff that was sitting outside of that building that caught on fire, and it didn't actually go inside. So, but thank you for that. Okay. Moving along, are there any future requests for agenda items? Okay, hearing none. We have no closed session today, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, October the 5th. Thank you so much, everyone. We will call the meeting adjourned.